Enjoying the day so much I had forgotten I was here to speak, so just trying to get my head back into that. I did think as we were running a bit late, maybe I'll just say, haven't we had a good day, and go home. But I will say something now that I'm here. So we've had a great day, learnt a lot. My name is Gail Grace. I'm a personal performance and wellbeing coach, and what that means is I help people achieve their goals while still prioritising their mental, physical and emotional health. And I want to thank Sammy for inviting me here today. Sammy and I have known each other for about 10 years now. My husband plays touch with Sammy. I did have to have a bit of a giggle to myself when she asked me to be part of today, though, because of its link with sport. Because as everyone on my table knows, I'm not sporty. That is a label I give myself, and I truly am not sporty. So when my daughter, who's 7, came to me with a sport-related question, I had to quickly look for some backup. Unfortunately, it was just me, so I had to try and do my best. She said to me, "Mummy, I'm confused about football." Now, this wasn't a good start. For someone who's not sporty at all, I knew that whatever confusion she had was not going to be solved by me. But we carried on. She said, "Mummy, I'm confused because at home with you and Daddy and Jacob, her older brother, I'm allowed to play football, but at school, I'm not." So then I was confused. So I said, "Well, who says you can't play football?" She said, "The boys." She said, "They say that all girls are rubbish at football and therefore we're not allowed to play." She said, "I don't think that's fair. And also, is that true, Mummy? Are all girls rubbish at football?" Again, not the best person to ask. So we sat down together and we Googled the England women's football team. Turns out they're pretty good, arguably better than the men. We then took her to Twickenham to see the Red Roses play. We picked a really good game. They beat Ireland 88-10. And we were then back there a couple of weeks ago to watch them beat New Zealand. We watched the Olympics together and the Paralympics together. And I think she's got enough ammunition now to take back to those boys at school. But having that conversation with her gave me a really scary realization. And that was that one day she was going to start asking me questions more about what was fair and what wasn't fair as a woman in the world. And I don't really want to have to share with her my experiences. So before I became a coach, I spent 15 years in the construction industry, which predominantly was very good. I made some great friends, had some great allies, some people that really championed my career. But I also saw, experienced and heard things that no one should have to put up with in the workplace or anywhere else. I'm going to share a few of those highlights, lowlights with you today. But I just want to acknowledge before that even though these are things that no one should have to go through, they are by far not the worst that people have to go through. So some of the memories. I had a male colleague say to me quite early on in my career, "If I'm going to look at your arse all day, you might as well wear a thong so it looks its best." I had a female colleague say to me, "Don't ever wear a skirt, don't ever show emotion. You have to be like them all the time." I used to get really tired of phoning up to book appointments to see people on site and them say to me, "Well, what's your boss's name who's coming to the meeting?" And I'd say, "No, it's me." And they say, "Oh, or I just assumed as you were a woman, you were the secretary." But probably one of the worst ones just before I left was my male boss, who said to me, "Gail, I hope you're not thinking of having children soon. It's going to ruin your career." He said, "Everyone will be so resentful that they have to pick up the slack while you're off having a jolly holiday." I did think about phoning him when I had an 18-month-old and a newborn and telling him what kind of jolly holiday I was having. But these are some of the things that I don't really want to have to tell my daughter about. But despite all those things, there was a different reason why, after 15 years in the construction industry, I handed in my resignation on a rainy Wednesday morning. I won't forget it. It was something else. It was someone that constantly made me feel every day that I wasn't good enough. It was someone that had me questioning every decision I made. It was someone who had me feeling small in meetings, even though I knew I had the authority to speak up. It was someone who had me in tears on the way to work and on the way home. And it was someone who had me even questioning my relationships outside of work, whether I was good enough for those. And that person was me. You see, through all our external challenges and barriers and things that we come across, it was up here that finally got me. So a few months before I decided to resign, I started to work with a coach. Now, I didn't know anything about coaching at the time. She'd been recommended by a friend. And I spoke to her a lot about my goals and ambitions being a woman in a male-dominated industry. I wanted to leave a legacy. I wanted to prove that I could do it. And she said to me 5 words that changed me in that moment and ever since. And she said, "You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be happy." I was really confused because this wasn't about happiness. This was about success. This was about me needing the job titles and the pay rises, me needing the respect, me needing everything outside of that. I wanted to have it all, the husbands and the children and the holidays and everything. Surely happiness came later, because that's what we've all bought into, right? You work hard, then you're successful, then you're happy. But there's 2 big problems with that. The first one is that I promise whatever goals you set yourself that you think you're going to be happy from, there'll be another one there to replace it by the time you've achieved it. And the other thing is that on the way from that working hard to success, what I experienced and so many of my clients do is that actually that's the time that leads to most stress, chronic stress, burnout, mental issues, physical symptoms, and then where's the happiness? So if my daughter comes to me again with challenges or barriers to break or ceilings to smash, I'm going to tell her the same as my coach told me, that you deserve to be happy. And actually, looking after your well-being and making sure you're happy creates a you that is actually more successful and more likely to achieve what you want to achieve. So we're going to talk a little bit now about burnout. So when I left my corporate role, I was extremely burnt out, not sleeping, not eating, emotionally all over the place. I didn't know that's what it was at the time. I just thought, I'm no good at my job, still the cycles of not feeling good enough, and actually taking the time to really focus on what I wanted from life, what I wanted my life to look like, what success I wanted to achieve, then was the driver to making everything happen. So we're going to have a little look. There is some exercises to do, so if you want to grab a piece of paper and a pen or something to write on, phone, whatever, we are going to be doing some exercises. Okay, so why should we care about stress? So there's some pretty scary statistics here. 13.7 million working days lost each year in the UK because of work-related stress, anxiety and depression, costing 28.3 billion a year. Stress-related health issues estimated cost the NHS over 11 billion pounds a year. And a huge 63% of people in the UK are stressed at least weekly, and 6% say they're never stressed. I don't know who those 6% are. Have we got anyone in this room never stressed? So why should we care about happiness? Because happiness is can be a bit of a dirty word, not something that everyone engages with. It's a bit sort of fluffy. But Sean Aker in The Happiness Advantage, the book, was the first time that I'd read about how wrong we've got this equation, this work hard, success, and then be happy. He says that happiness and optimism actually fuels performance and achievement, giving us the competitive edge that he calls the happiness advantage. Waiting to be happy actually limits our brain's potential for success, whereas cultivating positive brains makes us more motivated, efficient, resilient, creative, and productive, which drives performance upwards. Now, a lot of you, we've talked about sport, we've talked about business. How many of you have prioritized your happiness thinking, this is what's going to give me the competitive edge? Because it's something we don't think about. He goes on to say, happier people also perform better in leadership roles, receive higher performance reviews, make more sales, receive higher pay, take less sick days, and are less likely to resign. So a lot of his studies are through positive psychology and working out the differences between having that positive mindset before you try and achieve something. So what is stress? So we're going to skip the long biology lesson and go to something that really makes sense. So when we were cave people being chased by saber-toothed tigers, the fight or flight response was crucial. It helps us stay alive, and it still does today. If ever you're in a situation where you're stepping out into a road and suddenly a car comes along, it's those hormonal changes in your body that keep you alive. It can also be a motivator for us. But unfortunately, what we get today is daily little stressors all day, every day, and our system, our nervous system, just can't tell the difference. So we're in this constant state of fight or flight, this constant state of being on the edge, whether it's traffic, whether it's an email from someone, a deadline, the kids, whatever it is, it's those constant stressors all day. So what can we do about it? We actually have a lot more power than we realize. Mo Gawdat and Alice Law's book, Unstressable, which I recommend to anyone that wants to deal with stress, says it's not the events of the world that stress you, it's the way you deal with them that does. Now, that's kind of scary because it makes you realize that although we like to blame everything else around us for stress, it's actually the way we're coping with it, we're dealing with it, the way our mindset is that actually causes us most of the stress. But it also means the power is back on our side. We can do something about it. So I could teach you a million different tools and techniques for reducing stress, helping your mindset, preventing burnout. But without these first 3 steps, anything you try and implement will probably not last. So we are going to speed through this a little more quickly than planned, but this is where you get to do some work on you. So the exercise is coming up. I'm not going to ask you to share with other people or with me. So it's a time to really be honest with yourself, have some self-reflection, and really think about some of these topics. So step 1 is awareness. So we all spend most of our days in some kind of stress state. Some people even wear it as a badge of honor. I heard about a new thing yesterday called stress bragging, which is where people are actually using it as like something to brag about. We keep smiling, we carry on, as I did in my job, and we settle for a life we don't really want, but we can't always see a way out of it. Now, awareness is the top first step to this. So I'm going to ask you, how happy or stressed are you in your life right now? How satisfied are you with the different areas of your life? So I'm going to ask you for these different areas of your life to just give them a mark out of 10 as to how satisfied you are with them. Think about things like how happy you are, how successful you feel, or how much stress is taking away from those areas. So I'm just going to give you a minute. Keep it high level, don't overthink it, just whatever comes into your mind first off to give it a mark out of 10. Okay, so for your highest scoring category, I've said write down 5 reasons, we'll probably just do 2. Why do you think that category scored highly? How do you feel in that area of your life? Is it the people in that area that support you? Is it how you feel differently? Do you feel more confident? So have a look at that highest scoring area and what are 2 reasons why you think it is highest scoring? And then the same for the lowest scoring. What 2 things do you think causes you the most stress or unhappiness in those 2 areas? How do you feel differently in that area of your life than you do in the highest scoring one? So I'll just give you a minute to make some notes on that one. Does anyone want to share just, can you see any kind of patterns in there? Can you see why one area might be scoring higher than another area? Were there any surprises? Anyone just want to share any comments about just doing that exercise? Yeah.
Well, I'm actually on a career break at the moment, so I'm quite happy in terms of physical health and fitness. I'm actually playing rugby now, started to do it again, so that's good. But I realise actually career money is pretty far down the line right now. But I realise actually with the relationship with my other partner, it's actually quite high compared to what I told you wasted 3 years ago.
Yeah. So one of the good things about doing these exercises is to just have that awareness, because especially when we're feeling stressed, and especially if we're headed to real burnout, is that everything feels the same. Everything feels as bad as each other, and everything feels as stressful. So it's a really nice idea to separate these things out and see, oh, actually, that one's doing okay. And this is never about trying to get everything to 10 out of 10. Life fluctuates. You'll have times when some things are better and some things are worse. But it's about having that awareness and then knowing what you can do to improve the areas that you'd like to. So step 2 is, how do you want to feel instead? So again, if I asked you now to list all the things that you're unhappy about, unsatisfied about, that stress you out, you could probably go for some time writing the list. What we don't often do is ask ourselves, well, how do we want to feel differently instead? Because that's then the path to starting to make those changes. So we're going to skip this exercise for here right now, but it's something to take away and do with you. So writing a simple vision of what you want your life to be like in 3 years. But the important thing, and this is, it's easy to kind of do the vision board style, kind of what you want your life to be like. But these 3 questions are really, really important. What do I want to have? What do I need to do in order to have those things? And the most important one, who do I need to be, or what do I need to believe about myself in order to do those things? Because a lot of us will know what we want. We might even know how to get there. But then to have the belief in ourselves, or to be the person that needs to, as Maggie was saying earlier about stepping out of your comfort zone, that's when you need to focus on, who do I need to be to achieve this? And is it different to who I am now? Who you are and what you believe in is a lot more important than the goals you set. So we're just going to skip to this bit. So with this vision in mind, and we'll pretend we've done the exercise, but you can do it anyway. For your lowest scoring area, just write one sentence describing what it would be like for you to then score it a 10 out of 10. What would be going on? So for example, on friends and family, I spend an evening each month with my closest friend. I feel supported, I support her. We talk openly, we have fun and laugh together. So that would be something where if I was marking friends and family out of 10, those are the kind of things that would be happening. So for your lowest scoring area, can you write a sentence that just describes what would be going on? Because again, it's hard to make change when we don't know what we're aiming for. So I'll just give you a minute to make some notes on that one. So anyone that's done that, does it feel far away, or does it feel manageable? How does it feel thinking about what you'd like it to be as 10 out of 10? Anyone? Because sometimes when we describe how we want something to be, it can feel a long way off from where we are. So step 3 is all about making those changes. The one thing I'd say is it's really, really hard to make change if you're in that point where stress is such a big thing for you that you can't even think straight and you can't even see the way through the path to change. So in that instance, self-care, looking after your mindset, your mental, physical well-being, all comes before trying to make any kind of changes. So again, in the book Unstressable, they say it's not the stress that burns you out and kills you, it's letting it linger that can take your life away. And so many times we let things go on for far much longer than they need to, rather than making some small changes to stopping them. So burnout doesn't happen by the big traumatic events. I didn't feel burnt out when I left my corporate career because of one particular thing that happened. It's the things that you have to put up with, or the stress that you endure again and again, all day, every day, that slowly grinds you down until one thing then just snaps. So we can keep smiling and carrying on, like I did for far too long, or we can make a change. So what one thing can you do to fix or change the issue that's causing you the most stress in your life at the moment? So if you've got one particular area that's causing you the most stress, what's one thing that you can do to change or fix it? And remember, our brain will automatically want to put it down to something outside us. We'll say that, it's my boss, it's the economic climate, it's politics, but there's always something we can either do, or we can limit our exposure to it. Is another option. So social media is a great one for this. If you're one for the scrolling and comparing yourself to people, subconsciously that just eats away at you. What can you do to limit that kind of stress? Or if I can't fix or change it, what can I do to improve my life despite it? And this is about focusing on the good stuff. So if we can't always fix the stuff that's causing us stress, what can we do to really boost the good stuff? And this is where I'm imagining something like sport would be really good, because it's that team environment, possibly, it's that physical well-being, but also you can do it to improve that area despite all the other things that are going on. So like I said, we don't try and make too much change at once. But if you are looking at your lowest scoring area, and today has just got you thinking about maybe there are some things that I can do to change, really break it down to one small action that you could carry out in the next couple of days that will bring you just one step closer to that 10 out of 10. So it's not about trying to change everything at once. This isn't about trying to eliminate all the stress from your life at once. This is one area of your life, one small step. And then really commit to that by asking yourself, when specifically am I going to do this? How committed are you to doing this? And if you're coming out at a 3 or 4 or 5, pick something else, because you're not going to do it. Or how can you bring some of the you in your highest scoring area to help you? So a lot of things like confidence, for example, we can say, oh, I'm not very confident in this area. But actually, you might look at another area of your life and think, well, I am really confident in that. Can you borrow something from that area? Can you borrow something from the you that exists in these high-scoring, happy, less stressed areas, and use it to help you really try and reduce some stress in your other areas? So we have kind of rattled through this fairly quickly. But yeah, just to round up, focusing on your happiness and well-being before you get to the hard work bit. This isn't about taking away the hard work, but it's about really focusing on your well-being, who you are as a person, your authenticity, your values, really getting all that sorted before you then go to do the hard work. Making sure the success and achievements you're aiming for are aligned with your values and who you are. Being honest and aware of what's going on in your life, and these exercises you can do again and again all the time. And remembering that you have more power than you realize to reduce your own stress, increase your happiness, so that you hopefully don't reach that burnout stage. So thank you very much, Sammy, for having me. And yeah.